Hey, this is Flatlander Mike from Saskatchewan, Canada, and doing a new video today of putting on a power steering unit. This unit, it's a 2014 Viking, and it didn't come with power steering, and I really didn't think I needed it, but with the tracks on and the plow trying to turn in the driveway and stuff like that, I have a very wide driveway, because I have a 4-car garage, so it's past the full length of the garage, so it's about 50 feet wide. But anyway, so we're gonna put power steering on this. I got it ordered from Super ATV. It's an Easy Steer 200 and 200 or 2200, something like that. Anyway, it's their basic model. So we're going to install this on here. Now, I looked and looked and looked on the internet. I could not find any installation instructions for this model. There's lots for Polaris and everything else under the sun, but nothing for this. So I decided to make a video of it, just so that you know what's involved. Now, for me, there's quite a bit more involved because I have a custom enclosure that I built for this. So I extended the windshield, I put the windshield up, and I built side panels, wings here, and at the back. Back ones it doesn't matter, but these front wings here have to come off because I got to get in behind for the nut that holds this whole front end on. So they recommend you take this whole front end off, and it's the Easy Steer Super ATV. If you go on their website, they'll actually have instruction manual on there. So I will get an instruction manual with it. I don't have the kit yet. It's on its way. I'm expecting it by Wednesday. This is Monday. So we'll see. So I had to look through this instruction manual. They recommend that you take all these bolts out and then you slide this front end up, all the way up to the top of the roll bar here. So I don't know if I'm going to go that far. I was going to try and do it without taking this off, but for the steering mount, the steering column mount inside, there are 4 bolts. 2 I can get at, the other 2 I can't. The cup holder sticks down right over the top of the bolt, and I can't get at the bolts. There's 4 bolts in there, so, and it bolts the cross, or there's a cross member, it bolts it to the steering column. So that holds the steering column in place. So, so I'm gonna try and lift it a little bit. I got lots of crap on here. I got extra driving lights here. I'm probably gonna take some of them off. I'm probably gonna take this front windshield off, which is what came with it, and then after I added a piece of polycarbonate on the top to enclose it all. So I'm going to try and take this off, the bottom one, and try and lift it up, at least up to here, so where my other brackets are. So yeah, I had a look under there, and it's a pretty tight fit. The steering shafts are not too bad, but I can get at them, but the rest of the other parts I can't get at them. So we're going to try and take that out. Now, I already started to take this one off. I've got the rubbers and the clamps off here, so I'm going to drill these rivets out, and we're going to take this wing off and then do the other side. So I'll be back in a few minutes. Well, welcome back. This is Flatlander Mike again. Just got my Easy Steer system here and unboxed it, and we're ready to start putting it in. I'll just go through the parts that came with it and quickly, and then we'll start putting it in. Okay, so here we go. We've got brackets. This goes on to the steering column bracket. This goes on to the Easy Steer motor, and then that fastens in turn to the back side of this bracket. Here we have the shaft that goes from the motor down to the rack and pinion. Here we have the shaft from the steering column down to the motor. And here we have an ECU. This is the brains of it all. And wiring harness. Hardware kit. This fastens, I believe, this bracket to the steering column bracket. And we have some wire connectors if we need them. And this is another hardware package. Haven't quite figured that out yet, but I'm pretty sure the 3 bolts go onto the steering on this side and bolt this bracket here onto here. Oh, and then of course the instructions. Make sure you look at the instructions. They're there for a reason. Most people say that I've looked at takes about 2 hours in the remarks column. So we'll see what happens. So we're just about ready. We're going to start taking stuff apart here. I'm going to zip through the instructions here and we'll get started. Well, here we are back again, taking this 2014 Viking apart. We've got the top lifted up, the front end. I'll show you real quick how to go about it. I did manage to take the windshield off, and I did I had lights on here and all sort of signal lights. Had to pop them out, but I'll go through and tell you what I did. Okay, so I'm just going to go through what you have to do. So if you look inside here, you've got these, right here there's an Allen key, actually a chrome bolt. And then these are all push style retainers. So we got a whole bunch across there. And then on the front end, we've got bolts. They're 10mm heads, 6mm bolts. We've got a couple here, there. So you take all them out. Some up there. Exactly the same size, so you don't have to worry about it. Then in the front here, there's 2 bolts underneath here. They're right down in there. Holds it, that top to the front end, to this front clip here. And so there's 4 in there total, 2 on each side. Actually, it's pretty easy. My main thing was I had to take these bolts out of the roll cage because that's where my lights were mounted to the bracket, and the wire came up through here. And what I had to do was I took the wires and I cut them off. We'll figure out. The guy did a nice job sealing it with those self-sealing connectors. Those are really nice. They crimp, and then you heat them up with a little lighter or blowtorch, small torch, and it seals them. So I have another set here. Signal lights. I mounted them in here. So all I did was, here they are here. The LED, and just take the grommet off, and then you can push these lights right through the hole. So I was pretty fortunate there. So I had those on both sides. And that's just about it. So we just, I held it up, slipped it up. It's a little tight here because I've got my my bar here for my wing that I put on for the doors, to seal the doors. So it's a little tighter, but kind of holds it there. So, and I just put a strap on, hooked it around this bracket here, went down underneath here, all the way across, did the same thing on the other side, and yeah, it just kind of holds it out. The other thing I had was I've got vents into my dash here from my heater, so they come up through the floor here, or the upper floor. So I've got two there. Good thing I had them taped on here because so they wouldn't come off. So when I put it back down, I'm gonna wrap these with that foil bubble wrap and try and insulate them a little bit, maybe get a little more heat out of them. But yeah, I actually had to replace the heater. You can look at my other video on the heater install. I had to had a leak in the old one. It was a little bit smaller, so this one's got extra tubes in it for heating tubes that go through back and forth. So it's a little bit bigger, so I had to modify it a little bit, but it seems to work really good so far. We'll see how long it lasts. Of course, another thing on Amazon, this heater was just about $110. So anyway, I think we're all set for the power steering kit. Here's the bolts here that told you I couldn't get at. Because this cup holder here, right here, sticks down over the top of here. These bolts down in here, I think I can get with a swivel socket. I have a snap-on swivel, and it'll go in there in tight spots, so that shouldn't be a problem. I don't remember in the instructions if you got to take this whole thing off or just loosen it or what, but I believe the bracket goes on here somewhere. And that's for the power steering kit. This is easy to get at now. Down in there is the other end that has to be taken off the rack and pinion. You can see down in there. There's the U-joint down in there. Believe that comes off because there's a short piece that goes to the short piece here goes to the power steering unit. And then there's another one coming out the other side. It goes down onto the rack. So hopefully it won't be too much of a problem. So until I get the kit, power steering kit, we'll sign off for now. And good luck if you decide to do this. It's actually not too bad of a job so far. So we'll see what happens. And be back later. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to loosen these bolts for the steering column. And I will look in the instructions, see if I have to remove them. It's a 12 millimeter and I've got a swivel so I don't have to take the dash off. Okay, so those are loose. Steering column. And then we're going to remove this factory steering shaft. So there's a lock pin right here. Oh, one thing I did mention to you, I put a strap through the steering wheel so it wouldn't turn. Hopefully it kind of keeps it in place. So I'm going to take these bolts out. So there's one here and one down on the bottom on the rack and pinion. It's a little bit trickier to get at. Okay, so there's the factory bolt. Go down here. bit more difficult to get at. Oh, just lost my socket. Okay, we're gonna do some hunting. We'll be right back. Okay, so I retrieved my socket down from the bottom there at the skid plate with a magnet, and I got a wrench this time. I did get it loose. It's a 10mm wrench. Pretty snug. There. Kind of. It's coming loose now. Get a few turns on it. I should be able to turn it out with my fingers, if I can get my fingers in there. I can, but I can't get enough oomph to turn it by hand yet. Very, very tight. I guess you could probably loosen the steering wheel, turn the steering wheel a little bit, you might be able to get at it better. No, it's still not loose enough. Okay, try my ratchet again. Probably get in there easier. I just got a 1/4 inch ratchet with a 10mm on it. Okay, I think it's coming now. There it comes. Now I'm not sure. It's just a pinch bolt, and sometimes I'll have a hollow or a sort of a half circle groove around to hold it on. I know cars have that. Okay. And that's really rusty and tight. I'm going to put a little lubricant on there. Okay. And I'm going to use a flat screwdriver. I can move this. Oh, it's moving now. Okay, back again. My battery went dead, so I had a bit of a problem getting this shaft off of the rack and pinion, and it's way down there. You can see it right there. So what I had to do, it wouldn't come off, it moved a bit, but I drove a screwdriver. It's an old mechanic's trick, because this is split here. That's called a pinch. So when you put the bolt in sideways, it pinches it together and holds it steady on the tight on the splines. So what I did was I took a screwdriver and made sure that my shaft was out. It was partly off. Put my screwdriver in here and give it a couple of easy whacks with the hammer. You don't want to hit too hard because you're hitting sideways on the rack, and it's just aluminum. So anyway, I hit it a couple times and then it came right off. So anyway, so we're going to continue on, and just to recap there, we took it off of here. This is the steering, and I took the bolts out of the steering. So we'll continue. Okay, so the first part of the instructions is we mount this bracket to the motor. Now this side has got bolts in it already. That goes to the rack and pinion. This side goes to the steering shaft. Okay, so now go to the next page. The first 3 pages are taking the cowling off and everything. We already have that done. Okay, so stock. So install mounting bracket B to frame with hardware shown. Install stock steering column with stock hardware. Okay, so we're going to we need 2 bolts. Oh, and steering the bracket B. Okay, so what we're going to do is there's slots in here. I'm going to put those bolts back in, actually, into the steering column. Because we only used it to take that off. So they wanted to use the stock bolt. And I'm not going to tighten them down, so don't tighten down any hardware. So I installed those bolts into the bracket here, and they're still loose. They don't want you to tighten anything until near the end. Make sure everything lines up. Oops. Probably would be easier to take the dash off, but I have got so much stuff here. Okay, and I will just use my socket here to start that. One bolt. Okay, we've got that started. And drop the bolt down here. I'm trying to stick that in the hole here. make sure they do it by hand so you don't cross thread these bolts. Cross thread on the end, you got problems. Yeah, got them started there. Okay. Okay, the next part is put the bracket on. So here we have the bracket. We have these great big washers because there's big holes that are slotted. And these, by the way, are threaded. Oop. Must have the wrong bolt. What's going on here? They're threaded, but they are threaded, but the bolts are smaller, so that's why they give you nuts. So there's 2 nuts here. There. Got it. Okay. Probably shouldn't be doing this with gloves on, but I have to. I have to watch my hands and my position, so. I just got the nut on inside. Okay, we're gonna put you on pause for a minute here. Okay, so I got both bolts started there, so I'm gonna just snug them up a little bit. Take some of the slack out of them. And they're different size. Also, lot of play in those brackets, so makes it easier to line everything up, make sure your shafts are all lined up right. It's still movable. Okay, next. Okay, we got those in. Okay, next we want the short onto the steering shaft. Again, steering shaft to motor with hardware shown. So that is pinch bolt is supplied hardware. Okay, so this looks identical. So there is a flat on that. So I'm going to take this bolt out. They supply you with the pinch bolt. Oh, it does go on a certain way. Side goes on the motor is larger, bigger hole. Okay, doesn't really tell you. But if you're doing it, you can figure it out, I guess. So I'm going to put this on here, put the pinch bolt up. Okay, I'll take the other pinch bolt out. Okay, and now the next thing is to mount the motor. So we got two 8mm nuts. Okay. Something screwy here. Okay, let me figure it out and get back. Okay, so after doing some looking and researching it, looks like they shorted me two 10mm bolts here. So I'm lucky I had a couple, and so those are in now. The ones with the nuts, remember I said they went right through, they're threaded, but they went right through those big washers. Well, they're supposed to be bigger bolts, so these ones with the nuts are for this bracket here that holds this onto. So we're going to put this on now. Okay, we're going to thread that on. Just do it here. Okay, put this other one in. Okay, and we have the so what we're going to do now is I'm going to put this pitch bolt in so that I don't have problems getting it in after. Hopefully it will go in. There's something wrong here. Okay, so they must have a flat on that. So I'll have to take these out. I want to just check that, see if it's flat on one side of the shaft. There's got to be a reason it won't go in there. Oh, okay, so it's not flat, it's just a round. Sucker up. We'll do it this way. That's probably why I couldn't get it to go in. Threads are on one side. Okay, got started here, I think. Okay, stick the bolt through here. Okay, put the other bolt in. Okay, so I think we're going to tighten up that pinch bolt. Well, actually I'm going to just snug this one up here. Okie dokie. So we're on there. So now all we got to do is hook up the bottom one. Bottom shaft. And then we're good. Okay. Okay, so this has a bit of a slip joint on it here, and it's got a notch there. There's a flat, I don't know if you can see that, but it's flat here. So this joint will only go on one way. And then on this side here we've got, okay, this is the rack side, okay, and there's a flat on the rack side, so we want to line that up first. And this will allow me to pull it down and then slide it up onto the shaft on here. So okay, so we're going to put that in there. Now, if I remember, flat side is right there. There's marks. Well, it's actually not flat, it's just a... Okay, so I line that up with the marks. Uh-oh. Oh. I missed it. Okay, lost the bolt. I can see it there. Get my handy magnet. Okay, so it's got a groove there, so we have to get it in the hole and then pull it up so it sits in the groove. Started there now. Okay, so we've got the shaft in here. There's around the shaft there's a hollow, and that's where your bolt has to go through there. So make sure you do that, and both sides here. So we're going to just tighten up some of these bolts. I got to make sure that this doesn't hit, so we're going to snug them up and kind of do a little adjusting. So I'm just going to log out here and I'll be back. Alright, so we got all these bolts, mounting bolts tight. I started with this bracket and then worked my way down. So you want to make sure there's a little bit of play. So the U-joints are the last thing that I tighten, the pinch bolt. So I've mounted the ECU on the top, and there's two 6mm bolts or 10mm heads. And we got those in, and now next we're going to hook up the electrical. So we got a big connector here, goes in here. I tell you to make sure there's, it doesn't go in there, it goes in here. It's a 2-wire. I haven't tightened that down yet. Okay, and then this one goes in here. Okay. And then we've got switched power, which goes up to right here. This is the switch power. There was a cap on here, so we hooked that up to there. So we're going to bring this one across. We're going to bring that up to switch power. And then we have the wires coming from the motor. So we have two, and they go into the ECM. So we got one here, and we got another one here. Okay. So that's all there is for wiring. We have actually two more wires here. It goes to the battery. So I'm going to find a battery feed here, and we're going to run it. Now you've got your diagnostic light is right here, so we want to be able to see that. And then there's a fuse here. It's a 40 amp fuse. So we're going to run these wires here through the back, sort of out of the way. And then we should have a hole here somewhere. There's a hole there. Now I am going to wire it right to the battery. I do have a battery hookup here on my fuse box. So I've got a positive here and a negative over here. So I could hook it to there, be the same thing, or hook it to the battery here. And it looks like there's smaller holes here, so I'll probably just hook it here to the fuse panel. So we're going to go ahead and do that and come back. Okay, so we got it all wired up. Still got to tighten that yet. I wired my battery right to my fuse panel, which has a direct battery feed that feeds the fuse panel. So I have a positive and negative there. So all we got left to do is check everything, make sure they work. I'm going to tighten that up. I need a 10 millimeter. Here. So I'm just going to snug these up here. And I have my diagnostic light. It's right there. I'm going to just turn on the power here. And we'll see what happens. All in all, it wasn't too hard. Just a little snag there with the bolts I didn't have. So that tight. Okay, so let's turn her on. I can reach the switch from here. Okay, so the light flashed once. Okay, so that concludes it. We're going to just put her all back together again. It's probably at least another hour's worth of work, hour or two. And then you got to tidy up these wires, tie them up with zip ties so they're out of there, they don't rattle around. And yep, we'll take her for a drive and see how she goes. Well, Flatliner Mike here again. We finished installing the EPS system from Super ATV, and we're just going to take it out into the field and give you a show what it's going to do here. So I took it in the backyard and it seems really good, so we'll just, away we go. That's just awesome. There's no bumps here at all. It's really smooth. I can turn with one hand. Normally I'd be two hands on the wheel and just holding on for dear life. It would be shaking and shaking my shoulders. That's the main reason I bought it, was because of my shoulders hurt so much. Anyway, I can just see with the tracks on, it would be so much better. Well worth the money, I believe. I mean, I can even turn it. You're not supposed to turn it when you're sitting still. You're supposed to be moving, but just an excellent product so far. Anyway, we'll see how long it lasts, and apparently, it's got really good reviews, so I think we're good. So bring on winter.